hit go live. Are you happy? Sure, Claudia says. A very resoundingly, resoundingly happy sure. You're good. You're okay. There we are. We're live. We're in. Beautiful. There we go. Hooray! And of course, here I am looking at my phone, still playing last minute, just doing a remote raid and trying to catch a Pokemon and sort of giving you attention at the same time. Of course, it's the one and only time that I'm unable to catch a thing. It keeps them breaking out. Stay in. No, it's breaking out. Oh my goodness. Anyway, right. Hello. Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome to everybody. Hello, Claudia. You're right.
Yep.
Yeah, we're live. Here come the notifications into the phones and the things and the beepings. Right. How are you doing?
Good.
Would you care to explain a little bit about your name that you've got there?
Well, you gave it to me.
I didn't give it. No, you put that in. Don't lie.
I didn't put it in. You gave it to me.
So for context, we're very key and important. We're very thorough with our context. Is that I jokingly say that Claudia is a cheat McCheat-face because I believe that she has an electric battery in her wheelchair to be able to go so fast. It's true, isn't it, Claudia? You have a battery, yes?
If you say so. I mean,
anyway.
Right now, I would love a battery in my wheelchair, to be honest.
Because, yeah, so we'll come to this in just 1 second. Very important, because I expect you're very, very tired. May I just say you've got a wonderful T-shirt on?
Thank you.
What a wonderful choice. Cheers. Cheers to you. Cheers to you all. I've still got my spoon in my mug because it's the instant coffee. You have to put hot water in and it still doesn't, when you stir it, it's still a bit congealed. So anyway, cheers to you. What a wonderful choice. You do have a lot of our merch, may I say. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You do?
Well, that's because, I mean, you know, I bought one and then there was another one and then there was another one. And then the sit-down jumper came out and I thought, well, I mean, that was made for me, wasn't it, really?
Pretty much, yeah. Team sit down. So you're represent team sit down, permanent sit down almost. So team sit down. Yeah, and of course he embodied it. So the reason why I bring you on is a variety of things. Because of course we have a previous relationship regarding parkrun, because of course you and I have got to know each other through Surbiton Juniors, and then I've discovered many things about you in the interim. The thing that we wanted to touch upon, or I wanted to touch upon at the beginning, was, and you hinted at that about being tired, is you've been doing something in this lockdown period, which is quite unusual. Would you care to tell us about that?
Yeah. So
yeah, more enthusiasm. Yes, I'd love to tell you, Danny.
I think I'd have more enthusiasm if I wasn't so tired. Yeah, so
coffee. You need one of these.
Yeah, I probably do need more coffee. So I would have been racing in, as probably a lot of people would have been, in actual races. But in the absence of that, I'm taking part in a virtual race, which I have always sort of poo-pooed the idea of virtual races. But I'm racing across Tennessee in a virtual race organised by Lazarus Lake, who organises Barkley marathons.
That's the one, isn't it? That's the one that's crazy. The Barkley one, is that?
Yeah, the one that, I mean, I'm pretty adamant that I can do any race in the world, but even I'm pretty sure that I probably can't do Barkley.
Barkley. Yeah. That's the one where you pay with a number plate, is that right?
Yeah. And you have to and then each year he's like, I want a new item of clothing. So like one year he was like, I want a flannel shirt. So everyone had to bring a flannel shirt. Right,
just random entry fee, and it's the most obscure but crazy race. Yeah, I need to. There's a documentary on Netflix about that. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's on Amazon. But yeah, I was like,
Amazon.
I'm desperate to do it, but I mean, like logistically, not gonna happen. But I saw it and was like, oh, virtual race. Yep, I could probably do that. So it's it's cool. The Great Virtual Race Across Tennessee, 1,000 kilometers, but it's 1,021 kilometers. And I was like, yeah, I could probably do that. You've got to the end of August, that's fine. Averaged out how many kilometers I needed to do each day. Started off with like a 9 kilometers on the first day. And then they published a leaderboard. And then I was like, okay, there's a leaderboard. And I'm too competitive. And then there's 18,000 people taking part. And I decided that I was going to try and move up the leaderboard. And that got a bit out of hand quite quickly. So out of 18,000 people, I'm currently 6th.
Are you the only one with a battery in your wheelchair, allowing you to?
Battery in my wheelchair.
But you did fantastically well.
Yeah, second female, top British athlete.
In the virtual race.
Done, I don't know, as of
Wheelchair
yesterday, I've done 880 kilometres as of yesterday, and it started on the 1st of May.
Right.
So yeah.
And only wheelchair category person, do you know? Do you know if there's anybody else taking part?
I don't think there's anyone else in a wheelchair,
Okay.
but I don't know for sure. But let's assume that I'm the only wheelchair.
Okay.
I normally am, so there's a good assumption to make.
Okay, well, we'll assume on this occasion. And you're tired. So I've been told that you went out at midnight to Bushy Park to go and
I didn't go to Bushy Park at midnight. So
yes, you did.
Well, no, so I started at when was it? Sunday night, Boris made his announcement and said that you can exercise with a bit more freedom as of Wednesday. So as it hit midnight on Wednesday, I set out from home, and we have like a 2.2 kilometer loop around our house. Not around our house. We don't live in like
yeah, massive mansion,
massive house and a 2 kilometer loop. No, we live like there's a road that runs around sort of our little estate around our house.
Because you're Witten Twickenham way, aren't you?
Yeah.
I keep calling people over that way. Yeah,
we live like on the finish of Crane Parkrun, which is great. Okay. Even though we never go because we're always touring. But so yeah, 2.2 kilometers, and then from midnight I spent all the way through till sunrise going around the 2.2 kilometer loop. And then as soon as sunrise hit, I was like, great, I can go to Bushy. And then I went to Bushy, and then
go to bed.
Yeah, that would have been the sensible thing. And then went all the way through till I hit 100 kilometers, and then I came home, and then I slept for a bit, and then I went back out, and then so in the end I hit 100 miles for the day at about 11 o'clock that night.
How sore are your hands from all this?
So I've taken them off for the benefit of this call, but my hands when I go out are now like strapped up so that they work. Have you developed calluses though? Can you show us? No, actually.
Are they quite soft? Do you have soft hands?
I have gloves, really, really good gloves, which basically do most of the grip work for me because I don't have the best hand function because of my disability anyway. So gloves do most of the work for that. It's more just the muscles themselves that are just kind of not really functioning. But to be fair, it was actually good. I was doing 60-ish K a day before Wednesday, and actually I was doing all right. I had sort of like a different niggle every day, and I thought, well, that's fine because if you've got a different niggle every day, nothing's sticking. But since Wednesday, I've upped. So I did 100 kilometers yesterday, spread out, and then I'm hoping to finish.
You've been doing lots and lots and lots. You love your numbers and your figures. Yeah, you've been like 60, 800 kilometers, and it's amazing. It's astonishing. So, of course, you talk about disability there. So, for the sake of our viewers as well, would you care to explain a little bit about that? Because you haven't always done parkrun in a wheelchair. No. So I started parkrunning in November 2017, and I started running as a runner. But I still had all the conditions that I have now. It was actually quite had its benefits. So I can't feel my lower legs and my lower arms. And when I used to run, that used to get worse as I ran, which was actually quite good because you can't feel it if it doesn't hurt. So the only thing was, you can't feel it, yeah. Oh yeah. So I used to just run, and the only thing was I was quite susceptible to tripping over, but I couldn't stop. So when I crossed the finish line, I couldn't come to an immediate stop because my legs would collapse underneath me. So I had to like slow down gradually, which is great at Bushy because obviously there's a really long finish funnel, which was great for me. But yeah, so from November, and then that's how I then kind of fell in love with running. And then fell in love with it so much that I started stepping up my distance. I started running outside of parkrun, which I thought was insane, but then loved it. And then signed up for London Marathon for 2019 and a half marathon. And then 3 weeks after that, I started to lose the use of my legs, which whether or not that coincides with the fact that
I stepped up the amount of physical activity I was doing. We won't really know, but it started gradually. I started falling over quite a lot, and just coordination in my legs just completely went. And I spent 6 months on crutches, but I still didn't miss a park run. So I ran / stumbled around, because I still walked towards the end of not being able to run. So I ran / stumbled around 22 park runs.
And crotcheted.
And then I did 14 on crutches.
Oh, so you know exactly how many? Okay.
So yeah, 22. I ran / walked 22 park runs,
Yeah.
and then my best time there was like 22:51. But I was taking like 30 seconds off each week every other week before I lost.
So you would have broken the world record at that exponential rate. You would have.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's go with that. And then I went on to crutches, and then I did 14 on crutches. And then to start off with, it was like just finishing, but being on crutches changed my perception of parkrun, because when I used to run, it was like it was quite competitive still. Like in my head, I've always come from a competitive sports background. I was like I wanted to beat my time every week I went. But when I went onto crutches, I was like, obviously I was I was at the back, because just finishing and just getting to the finish line was like a massive achievement. But then I was quite quick on crutches, so I was like, oh, what time can I do on crutches? In the height of summer around Bushy Park, I think my best time on crutches was 34:42, which I was actually probably one of my proudest achievements.
That's very impressive.
And then it became quite clear that actually crutches wasn't really a viable option to continue. I still had that half marathon I wanted to do, and doing it on crutches was not really going to happen. And the final straw was I was on a bus and I went to stand up on my crutches and I fell over. My legs just buckled underneath me, and I was helped up by like a 80-something-year-old lady.
Right.
And I was just, at the time I was like 23, 22, and I was just like mortified, as you would be, kind of thing. And so I started using a wheelchair, which like a sense of freedom. Like everyone thinks like using like a wheelchair is the end of the world.
But it's better than what you were going through.
Yeah, because I no longer had to rely on my legs to get through the day. Like I could go out and I had so much more freedom. Well, freedom in the sense of my arms were absolutely like weak as anything. Like I had no arm strength. But yeah, so then I had 3 weeks off parkrun because of various other commitments, and because I couldn't get around Bushy. And I was intent on Bushy was my home parkrun, and I was going to do Bushy in my wheelchair. So yeah.
You did, and you've been to Bushy a few times. So of course, there's a lot of. Thank you for being so open and honest about the development. But it sounds to me, and I guess hopefully you'd agree, that whilst you've weakened, you've actually gone from strength to strength by being in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
So the irony is you've then obviously lost physical strength, but you've gone from strength to strength in the wheelchair in a manner of different ways. So of course I've got your stats here. Show us the piece of paper with your stats on, because you've got your stats ready. You know I do the stats thing, so you've got it there. You've got all your data down, and I've got it here too. So I've got you as down 123 park runs.
Yeah, which is a nice number, I think.
Yeah, it is. Bushy 73. Obviously, Bushy is conducive for a wheelchair to a point, because you will start by the playground. So those of you been to Bushy at the pilgrimage, you start far away from the start line, and you have this strip from the playground straight on the path, which I think is a very, very smart.
I didn't always start there. I always started in the grass. Didn't realise I could start by the playground. And then one day I went to ask Emma, and I was like, "Can I go and start over there?" And she went, "Yeah, of course." And I went, "Oh."
It's just as far, if not slightly longer. So yeah,
5 minutes off that just by starting over there.
Yeah, you don't have to go over the little humps and bumps. I do wonder about that, all the little anthills that people go over. I wish I didn't have to do that, but hey ho. And then you've done 41 different. So
yeah,
the main reason why I wanted to bring you on was not to basically just highlight the wheelchair factor, and because of course the one thing that I'm very aware of, and when I have you, and you are a regular volunteer at Surbiton Junior Parkrun, the wheelchair isn't you. Claudia, the person, is the person that I'm most interested in, the person that I'm most fascinated, the person that I get on with, the person I have a shared humour, the person that I take the mickey out of a lot. And
people find it really weird that I forget that I'm in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And so it's really weird that, so I obviously haven't changed. I mean, I've changed a bit, like, because of my experiences, but I forget that I'm in a wheelchair. So people treat me differently, but I forget that people see and treat me differently because
Yeah.
I'm in a wheelchair, because I don't see myself as being any different. And then I'm like, oh yeah, that's why.
Yeah. But there's one thing I promised you that I would never do. So when you
Yeah.
contacted us at Surbiton Juniors and you said, I'd like to come along volunteer, I said to you, I'm not going to treat you any differently. I'm not going to give you any special dispensation. I'm going to treat you like normal, and you can do all regular roles. And you've been coming back since, and of course you've gone into run director role. And I've always been hyper aware about that, trying to make sure that we are not making a big thing about the wheelchair. So it's a very hard balance, because of course we want to discuss this about, you are Claudia and the wheelchair doesn't make you, but at the same point your experiences with the wheelchair in a parkrun capacity is something that intrigues people, because not everybody goes through that. So of course you have a story to tell from that particular insight. And so 41 different parkruns you've been around, and again, we'll have to assume here about your tourism, and your ongoing tourism is fairly unusual, but it's not just those 41 different events. You've done London in Freedom Runs, is that right, to a point?
Yeah, I haven't done all of them, but I've done a lot of them.
You've done a large chunk on your own, doing the courses, getting there by public transport.
I don't even know what year it was. Not this January, the January before. I did Red January with Mind, and I wanted to do something, and I knew I wanted to start touring a bit more with Parkrun, partly through listening to the pod, and I was kind of a bit like, I suppose, like jealous a bit, because I was like, oh, everyone else gets to tour. This isn't fair, because I want to tour, but I can't really tour because I can't just turn up to an event, and it didn't really feel fair that everyone else could tour and it was so easy for them. So I went and did 31 different parkrun courses in 31 days. And that meant that I then had a bank of like 31 courses that I knew I could do, which then meant that I could just turn up and then just do them, and then it meant that I knew I had the confidence in myself to go, bit one, from a public transport perspective, to go and do it, and two, know that I could do the course. So
yeah, which is fair enough. So this is where we wanted to, it's a little bit, we had this conversation before we were online to discuss about, it's opening the eyes of your experience to other people. So of course you've experienced it firsthand. Like you said, you want to take part too, and that is key, that you want to take part equally like everyone else can.
Yeah.
Parkrun's, one of the missions, is the aim is to make sure that everybody can feel perfectly able, no matter what, no matter where they are, who they are, etc., to be able to go along, take part equally, and then go away again. So of course you find yourself stuck in this position where you're in a wheelchair, and then of course it comes to, right, what you have done, and you've been informing teams. So you've been contacting them, saying, look, I'm going to come along. So I'm looking in the comments now, Steve Dye is here, and he's mentioning Homewood Parkrun, which is a very particularly tricky parkrun underfoot, but alone by foot. And Steve helped facilitate you getting round at Homewood Parkrun. So you have been going through courses that fundamentally you would go, that's not appropriate for a wheelchair, but you've been eschewing that. And so you've been going around. So there've been teams that have been helping you out. And it's mostly positive. But at the same point, you've had experiences that have shaped things, and also that you've been in contact and communication with Parkrun UK over, because of course not everything has been brilliant. What would you say, 95%, mostly 90% has been positive interactions and going around, but there's things that can be improved, because nothing is ever flawless. Things can be improved. Of course, we're not going to mention any event team, because we don't want to do that. We're not slating them, and they made decisions for that particular reason. And of course, I know some of the experience that you've gone through. But it's key is the equality side of things. And so it's helping the volunteers be forearmed. So if you can have an experience, it's slightly negative, but not in a deliberate, intentional way, then Parkrun can then go on to inform volunteers, look, we have a mission, and then we can inform you about treating people in a particular way. My eyes were opened, especially about how we were not perceiving things, because of course at Surbiton Juniors, we have a pavilion and we don't have a ramp. There are only steps.
Yeah.
We will take it for granted that, oh, we pop into the pavilion, go to the toilet, come and do the run brief and everything. You have to have assistance regarding that. We don't have the facilities to be able to allow you to access this building, and that's frustrating. So it's making sure that whilst we do treat you like a human being, we also make sure that we do give you the functionality to take part equally. So at one event, there was a particularly negative experience. And can we discuss this? Again, we're not mentioning event teams, but Parkrun UK has then gone on to take your experience to then go and benefit. So we were worrying about talking about this because, of course, your concern was, will it be seen as a negative? And my mind frame is, it's best to inform people, because you're not doing it to slate at an event. You say, this is my experience. Can we negate that so it doesn't happen to anybody else ever again? And the key point being that you are, again, very resilient. But if it's the first timer turning up in a wheelchair who'd been led to, if I can go to a parkrun and take part equally, and this experience happened to them, they would not come back. They wouldn't come back. And we want to avoid that. So are we allowed to touch upon that? Would you tell a little bit about that?
So I sort of dip in and out of habit of emailing in advance of going to new events. It depends what mood I'm in as to whether I email. Sometimes I email because I'm like, oh, I should email so that an event team is prepared because I'm coming, and then I don't have to worry about it. But equally, sometimes, you know, as everyone knows, kind of it's a last minute decision to go to an event. You know, there's about 4 or 5 of us, well, group that tour quite regularly, and sometimes we just decide on a sort of Friday where we're going to go. There's not really a lot of time to email. So, and sometimes I resent the fact that I have to, well, I don't have to. But
we've had this discussion. Yeah, you ask them, and I say you should be informing. Yeah.
Well,
you kindly,
I've
you
had discussions with
inform
Parkrun about this, but Parkrun as an organisation about this. I resent the fact that I feel that I think I should email because it makes me feel more comfortable. I think that's the best way of putting it. So then I don't email, but then I end up feeling stressed on the Saturday morning. So I'm like, well, what if this happens? What if this happens? Being open, I struggle quite a lot with anxiety, and that lends itself in. It happens around parkrun and a lot around sort of my disability in itself as well, about being different and sticking out like a sore thumb. So, and also like social anxiety as well, with like dealing with the conversations in the morning. So if you have pre-prepared it via email, that is a lot easier. So, I mean, in this instance, I had emailed, and the email back was kind of, we don't really allow wheelchair users, but we will make an exception if you come and test the course. But you'll have to start 5 minutes behind everyone else. So I kind of just like, well, we had and it wasn't just our normal little tour group that were going. It was basically like, I say half the running club. It wasn't half the running club, but there was a large, substantial group of us from the running club that were going. So I was like, okay, fine, whatever. It was Friday. So we went, and yeah, so I started 5 minutes behind everyone else. Someone in our running club had a double buggy, so it was a lot wider than myself. The question was over width, I think, and just me finishing as well, and me being slow. And I think that's always a challenge, and this is not just in this instance, but everyone assumes that because you're a wheelchair user, you're going to be slow, or on the opposite end, that you're going to be super fast. Yeah. So you're either like a Paralympian who's in a racing elite like chair, and you're going to be, you know, finished in 15 minutes, or it's going to take you like an hour and a half to do a 5k. And obviously for me, it just depends on what the course is, and it depends on like how I'm feeling and what's going on. So, so I sat there on the start line as everyone ran into the distance. And I mean, obviously, I don't really know what had happened, because the tail walker didn't really know what to do, because I was just sitting there, and all the volunteers were looking at me. Yeah, it was a bit. I mean, I really struggle with feeling different and feeling like,
and that highlighted, but it made you.
And I couldn't have felt more different. But yeah, so then we started, and then obviously like it's really hard for me to overtake people because I can't just duck onto the around. I need a bit of extra width, and I need like the path. So I had to then weave through people. In a way, actually, because there were lots of people from the running club there, I could just be like, call people's names and be like, oh, and then they'd be like, oh, wheelchair, can you? And then so I could get through. So actually that kind of works in my favour a bit. And then I think I actually got quite a decent time at that. But, I mean, it would have been, if you take 5 minutes off, it wouldn't have been like even more decent. But so it would.
Okay.
It was. Yeah, it was a. I think that was the straw that kind of broke the camel's back for me. I contacted Parkrun after that event and kind of explained. Well, I spoke to you and Bev about it, and various other people, and contacted Parkrun about it, because there have been other sort of small instances of things that have happened, which I've just sort of like
taking that negative and turning it into a positive is what we did. So basically, when I found out about it the following day, I was relatively outraged about said thing, and then I, as you know, I detailed precisely what to do, how to communicate, and why you had to say what you did, and now and then communicated with Parkrun, and now they are in greater communication and contact with you regarding that. They observed, they understood, and they went, right, okay, we've recognise that we then need to look at again facilitating teams to prevent this experience from ever happening. So that's the thing. I know it's very awkward and difficult for you to talk about it, and obviously we were kind of cajoling, so we didn't want to again, we don't want to talk on your behalf by saying, right, look, we are outraged on Claudia's behalf, because of course you need to be the voice because it's your experience. At the same point, we wanted to make sure that we gave you the confidence and courage that what you were doing was the right thing to do and talk about at the time, because of course most of the time we don't want to end up going, right, you're not allowed to say anything which could be perceived as negative. Let's pretend it didn't happen, sweep it under the rug. This happened, and let's make sure it doesn't happen again. So of course the positive being is that from that experience we can then go and help other teams forearm themselves to make sure they understand that they don't have that happen again to anybody in a wheelchair or in any other capacity where they feel like they are made to feel left standing out on their own, literally on the start line, and therefore detached.
I think it's been really positive. Like, I think everything that's happened afterward, and I have had conversations with people within Parkrun, and just in terms of like policies around wheelchair users, and that's just, and even like small changes that have already been discussed and what's happening, but just that's already given me the confidence going forward, so that I know, but also given me sort of a direct line that if anything happens again, I know what to do, and also just know that there are things in motion going forward that will make it better. And also just as I say, I'm very fortunate that like been part of Parkrun now for a fairly longish time, not as long as a lot of people, but if that had been someone's local Parkrun that they had emailed to ask if they could go to, then they might have, just not ever taken part in Parkrun. And I think that's the real key sort of thing, and that's the thing that, sort of I've worked in sports development, and that's the sort of area that I am involved in, and that's always in the back of my mind when putting the sort of work hat on. When I think about it, that's always the sort of thing I think about.
If you'd said nothing, nothing would have changed, and it would have potentially happened again. And that's the thing. Pretending it didn't happen is crazy. And the fact is that it did happen, and then making sure that we can help others from not happening again is the right move to make. And again, so thank you for being very open and honest about it. It was a very particularly tricky time, but I think it's eye-opening. I'm looking at some of the comments, and the comments are talking about this and how people have gone to the great lengths to help people access Parkrun. And that's the key of it. It's enabling people to access Parkrun, and that's core. the aims and missions, because of course there's risk assessments being mentioned, there's elements of health and safety overrides,
Yeah.
the equality of participation to a point if you're risking others, but you are very cautious and wary about this. Is part of the reason why you do it, is because of course you
and
make
I think
risking.
also, like, I think it's really important to highlight, and this is what I highlighted when I spoke to parkrun as well, is this is, I mean, obviously we're speaking about parkrun, but this is not an issue solely with parkrun. I mean, parkrun was the only thing that I could continue when I lost use of my legs and became a wheelchair user. All the other sports that I used to play, I had to stop. Parkrun was the only activity that I could continue, and for that, and I think that's why it is so important to me. But outside of parkrun, in terms of say like races, you know, this is a bigger issue than it is inside parkrun. But I think because parkrun promotes its inclusivity more sort of profoundly, that it kind of gets raised as kind of a bigger issue, whereas races are just blatantly sort of non-inclusive. But in races, like say, I mean, take like the 6 marathon majors, only one of those is, well, maybe 2 of those actually say that you can do it in a day wheelchair. 2 of them you can get in via a sort of back route, and 2 of them I'm blankly not allowed to do. So I can't get my 6 marathon majors. Most of them don't make you start in the back wave. So I mean, there's loads of races that I'm not allowed to take part in, and I whinge about that all the time. So parkrun is open in a much more, in a better sense, and far more open to change and listening, and so.
Or egalitarian, absolutely. That favourite word of ours, egalitarian. And it is, and of course it's great, and it's great to hear that parkrun has enabled you to keep active, because of course, as you say, there's been doors closed to you in other sports participations. Of course, you are involved in many other different sports as well. But the racing, yeah, it's a conversation for another day, I think, in terms of all this. But it's definitely, you can see the points, because of course, race plans have been cancelled. You were going to do Comrades, that's been cancelled just yesterday. Sorry to rub this in. Berlin, New York, you had all these lined up.
New York hasn't been cancelled yet, but.
Sorry, sorry. There is a possibility that New York may not be happening. Yeah. It's got to have to be hitting you hard. So, yes, but you're still going around and you're still being active. You're still doing your races. You're still looking for things to take part in, all within the WWC category. So, of course, there you are going to getting your course records in your WWC categories where you can, because, of course, going to some courses that have never had a wheelchair. So, therefore, you get your category.
Yep.
You're a gold obsessive. So, you do love your parkrun. You've had your gold obsessive badge. And you've been to 3 countries, UK, France, Netherlands. Now, I noticed all those flags are red, white and blue. So do you
I know.
With red, white and blue then? Yeah.
Well, I mean, that wasn't planned.
USA next.
Well, I would have got USA, South Africa and Germany this year, wouldn't I?
Okay, that would have spoiled your colour. That would have spoiled your
colours.
Latter two.
Yeah. But travelling abroad is quite hard so Sarah, my housemate, who is commenting away on the things.
She is commenting away. Can you see it all? Yeah, she's narrowing away
to
to others
about one of the 2 courses that I've beaten her on. So travelling abroad is quite hard because neither of us are particularly gifted in the language department. But when like you don't get taught things like, I need a ramp for that train in like GCSE French. So going abroad to parkruns is neither of us drive. So travelling abroad is actually really, really tricky. And it's something we want to do more of. But
well, you went to Netherlands. You went to Netherlands because you
went to the inaugural
Wilson Index checker. You wanted it. You didn't want to do it in the UK. So
no, because I thought it would be. It's hard for me to go to an inaugural in the UK.
So you did it the fancy way. You went over to Amsterdam.
We did
inaugural, didn't you? Absolutely, I saw that. Envious. You've got a country that I don't have. Not
the one and only Amsterdam parkrun.
Yes,
they cancelled the week after.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. Again, it must be so hard for the Netherlands to suddenly start and stop. I wanted to talk a little bit very quickly as well, because of course we've gone on for a little bit longer, but these interviews are getting longer and longer. I noticed that I wanted to give shout outs to people like Gary Donald and Rory Marriott, people who are in wheelchairs and parkrun participants who have helped you a lot in terms of advice.
Yeah. So we have, it was after my 50th parkrun, Parkrun wrote a blog post, well, I wrote a blog post, and Parkrun published it on the website. From there, a Facebook group was created for wheelchair users of Parkrun. That then kind of grew a bit, which Rory and Gary and quite a few other people are members of. And I mean, there's one for like buggy users and wheelchair users, which is useful, but they're very, very different things.
Nuanced, isn't it? It's different, yeah.
Yeah.
Some could be wider than you, but at the same point, some could be a lot faster than you as well.
And you can lift a buggy over things. If you can't lift a wheelchair over things.
No.
But it's just, I think, like the advice initially, obviously everything was new to me. I mean, like everything. And like understanding things like, I mean, my freewheel, I didn't even know what a freewheel was. For those who don't know, it's my wheel that clips onto the front of my foot plate. That
you keep braking.
I'm on my third. Yeah, and they're not cheap. You think trainers are expensive? Freewheels are even more expensive. So
slow down. Then turn the battery down. Let's make it go fast. It's fast.
Yeah. So like that was things like that. They're like a massive like help and find, and just advice. And then like now, like I can like pass that advice on to like other people, and we constantly get like new people in the group. But initially, it was just like the information that like things like other courses, like tourism side of things. But I mean, I was a complete sort of like bumbling idiot at the beginning. I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't really, because I just do things because I think, why not? That is my attitude to life at the moment. But yeah, it was brilliant to have that experience at the beginning, because I mean, it still is now, but yeah.
Well, you definitely are a kind of person who wants to try and do things rather than see things what you can't. You basically go, right, I'm just going to give it a go. I'm going to give it a test.
But I think like 3 years ago, I could run around, and I was literally just living life, doing whatever I wanted to do. And now, like, obviously I can't walk, and so, and I don't, and this is why I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I don't know what's going to happen with my arms. I don't know. So why not do everything now? Because I don't know what's going to happen in 3 years' time. I don't know what my condition's going to do. So it's a case of making the most of everything that I can do now whilst I can, because what's going to happen?
I believe the term carpe diem.
Yeah.
Apropos for that. Okay, right then. Going to tie it up because, of course, you got a good 40 minutes out of us. You get your money's worth out of this interview from me, but it's been brilliant. And thank you very much for talking to me. Before we go, I'm not going to forget, Parkrun Pictionary, you've been watching, you've been taking part, Sarah and you have been watching, and would you care to do one of your very own?
Yeah. It's not going to be very good because my arms don't really work.
It's the same as when I interview people saying, I don't want to listen to the sound of my own voice. It turns out being perfectly fine. Whenever I ask people, can you do Parkrun Pictionary? And they go, oh, it's going to be a terrible drawing. It doesn't matter.
But my arms actually don't work.
That's fine. We will still get it. I promise you. We have the hive mind will know what you're drawing. I promise you. So whilst you're doing that for a second, can I go through the comments? Because I am watching the chat going on in the comments. So have a quick squeeze of that. And then people are mostly conversing with each other. Basically seems to be a chat forum now in the live chat rather than stuff.
No one's listening to us. It's fine.
No, it seems like they're just having their own little cafe going on. Elizabeth Shazam, I've taken a wheelchair user to Canada. Vancouver is very accessible. Emma Shaw is going on about Perry Hall. So Emma Shaw, of course, we've got on Monday to talk about Perry Hall. We thought we'd give him a big old profile. So Emma Hawkey actually will be, talking to Emma then. Karen Spackman has been made, well, she has been made, but she's said that I'm thinking whether my home parkrun will be possible now for wheelchair. It will make me look at it from a different viewpoint.
I'll make it possible. It's fine.
She'll make it possible. Well, push you around. Matt Miller saw Blade Runner at Peckham Rye. Well, I mean, that's the thing with parkrun. We should expect to see almost everybody with
I've done Peckham Rye and they put my time down as assisted because I was in a wheelchair.
But you should be down as WWC though, right?
Yeah, I know, but they gave it to me as assisted, so I didn't get a course record.
They put this.
I'm not bitter about it at all, don't worry.
Okay. Don't Try not to mention team names that have done things, so they don't
Sorry.
look at us and say, tell us off. So they gave the assisted on your wheelchair type.
Yeah, it is, yeah, they gave it as assisted.
Okay. Yeah, it's meant to be for doggies more than wheelchairs. Right, okay.
I didn't have dogs because that would be the best thing. Dogs attached to my wheelchair.
That would be cheap. That would be really cheating on top of your battery. But also, okay, that's interesting because of course there's the discrepancy because assisted meant to be for dogs only. It's interesting you can then add it to a wheelchair category because of course, yeah, you're not unless you're being towed by dogs, which I think would definitely be a health and safety issue and not on the risk assessment for a fact. So Steve Dye, he trimmed some of the brambles at the edge of the course for you at Homewood to widen it to allow people to pass on some of the narrow sections and felt that these allowed us to get around safely. So he went.
What a day that was.
Yeah, it went above and beyond to help you take part. Right then, have you done your drawing?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got so much cat hair in my nose today. I don't know what's going on. Dolly is with me. She's just snoozing on the chair behind me. Let's have a peek then. What have you done for her? Let's have a squeeze.
I apologise in advance.
Right. So is that a person or a man?
Person. I wouldn't worry too much about the person.
Man bucket, ton, bucket ton. Is that an atom? Squiggle dice. 1.
Right. Okay. This is not going well, is it?
Little tips and hints. So the first bit is a man, right?
What?
Person?
It's a person.
So is that the word person? Is it?
No.
Emma Shaw's trying to guess Perry Hall. So man, person. Is it a particular person? Oh, it's arms and legs.
Oh, well done.
Arms and legs. Okay. So what do you call arms and legs? Limbs. Limb bucket. Limmin. Limmin. And that's a 1 ton, right?
Yeah. Have you got it?
Lymington. And then Lymington. It's Lymington. Well, it's Lymington Woodside, isn't it? Lymington Fire Cube. Lymington Squiggle Dice. Lymington.
Well, it's a side of it.
It's the side of a Lymington. What's that? Wood Fireside.
Yeah.
Is there one in Fireside?
No, it's just wood. It's a wood. I'm pointing at the wood in the fire.
Lymington Woodside.
Yes.
Yes. Did I say that earlier? A minute ago.
Well, yes.
Yes. There you go. Yay, Callum Burrell, Lymington Woodside. Lymington. Some people are guessing Lymington. Lymington, Ian Thompson, Lymington. There you go. Helen Rutter, Lymington Woodside. Limcombe Ton, says Rachel Bentley. That's the one. Lymington Spa. Right. Okay. So
I tried my best.
The pain is over. The anxiety is finishing now for you. Okay. You can be done. Thank you very kindly. Thank you for giving me your time. Thank you for being open and honest about your experiences.
It's all right.
Chairs at Parkrun. And thank you for wearing with me now, Top. I shall see you soon. Hopefully when the lockdown is over and we get back to Surbiton Juniors. And hope you and Sarah are looking after yourselves. So take care. All the best. And thank you for speaking to us. And I'm assuming you've been watching the Zooms. So they've got your Zoom face ready?
Yeah.
Go on then. Get your Zoom face out. Right. Speak to you soon. Take care. All the best.
See ya.